Welcome to MrBeast's Chocolate Factory.
And these 10 contestants will be competing to win the whole thing, but none of it is real.
MrBeast is the biggest YouTuber on the platform, and his next undertaking is making IRL Willy Wonka. 10 contestants will compete in MrBeast's Chocolate Factory to win it all, which is why when MrBeast sent out this tweet, the first thing that came to mind was to recreate his factory as a playable video game. But here's the thing, MrBeast's last upload was over a month ago, and all the golden tickets used to enter his video have been found. This could be the biggest video of the year, even bigger than Squid Game, and I cannot miss this golden opportunity. Oh, and he just uploaded the video. Oh boy. Along with that, MrBeast is a man with a big heart, and I've always wanted to thank him in some way.
So with all that being said, so it is 9 o'clock and I have 1 week to make and publish an entire game.
Which leads us to step 1, Chocolate Factory. After obtaining reference images from Willy Wonka, I outlined a few angles like these ones. Then, I hopped into Blender. No, not that. Blender, and started making the warehouse. But here's the problem. I hold the record for being the worst Blender user of all time. And if you don't want to be known as that, use your chocolate river and smack that subscribe button. The sooner I get monetized, the sooner I can make bigger and better videos. And I challenge you to hit those buttons in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, you just won a customized Feastables bar. And after an hour of making minimal progress, I decided to use Unity instead. I started by sculpting a map similar to MrBeast's tweet. Then, I downloaded about 5 billion candy models from Polypizza and chucked them into my scene. Everything was going perfect. So, my PC ran into a problem and needs to restart. Thankfully, nothing was corrupted. Let's hope that was the last time my computer would crash. Moving on, I expanded the map to include 6 tiles, with a majestic chocolate river running through. After painstakingly placing all the candy, I made a chocolate waterfall using Unity shader graph, which, was a complete masterpiece. To cap off day 2, I enclosed my terrain in a box by making a cube and flipping the normals. Welcome to paradise, a place that holds the dreamers of the dreams. Step 2, the game system. In a previous MrBeast video, 10 contestants competed in 10 minigames to win MrBeast's private island, where one person was eliminated each game. Similarly, this game will include 9 minigames you have to survive to become the Chocolate King. But before we make this competition, we need to make the competitors.
Now since I A, don't want to go into multiplayer networking, and B, only have a week, we're gonna use artificial intelligence to create the illusion that you're playing against other players. Oh boy. Say it with me, boys. Say it with me, boys.
Now that we have our players, we need to make them move to specific points in the factory. Done. Unfortunately, our AI friends don't have any names, so I took my top game dev friends and put them into the game. Isn't that right, soft? With 5 days left, I can move on to the Mario Party inspired arcade games. Here's the breakdown. After you and your competitors walk to a certain point, a minigame will play that will eliminate one person, and the whole process repeats until you either lose or survive all the challenges. And the first game I made was Paint Escape, where you have to paint the tiles red. Paint the least, and you are eliminated. My plan is to change the art style of each game to fit the candy theme once we finish all the games. After making the concept, the AI, and the instructions, let's test it out. The next game I made was Block Dodge, where you have to dodge these randomly spawning blocks from the sky. Lose all your lives, and it's game over for you. I spiced things up by adding some rigged blocks that fall on the player's position. And time's up.
So, these 2 games took me 3 days to make, causing me to miss the deadline. I still have like 7 more left to make.
However, since I really liked the project, I pushed the due date to May 18th, giving myself 2 extra days to work. The next minigame I made was called Digging, where you have to dig the blocks from underneath you by pressing this key. I tested this game out with my sister, who,
It's not gonna work. I mean, it's not gonna work. Your last place. You gotta focus.
I can't. The keys are hard. I can't do it because the keys are hard.
Then came Eating, which was definitely not inspired by digging. This time, however, you can eat the blocks by pressing any key, which allows me to do this. Although making the core concept of each game was simple, I had to create an AI for each minigame. This meant adding competitors, remaking scripts, fine-tuning difficulty, and dealing with constant bugs, increasing the time per game drastically, to the point where my deadline had to be pushed to Tuesday. I continued onward with my next game, Hunter Tag, where your goal was to avoid this little guy at all costs. The AI for this game was particularly tricky because I had to learn about 2D pathfinding, something I'd never done before. Whenever you have a problem though, a Swedish man will always be be by your side. After spending 3.5 hours on this one game, I moved on to something simpler. Timing. It's just timing. Then came Reflex, where you had to grab the brown chocolate bar before any of your other competitors. Be careful though, because a rotten bar can randomly appear. After that was Chocolate Combo, which totally wasn't inspired by any other rhythm game. The premise of hitting the arrows was simple, but for some reason,
the arrow minigame took me 5 hours. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong and more.
This game absolutely wrecked me, with bug after bug after bug, and 8 hours of straight game dev really takes a toll on you. So after finishing and getting a good night's rest, I moved on to the final game, Last to Fall. This would be the true test for the MrBeast chocolate crown. Tiles fall from underneath, and the only thing standing between you and holding the crown was 120 lines of AI mastery, and AI gone. Oh, that was actually kinda easy. With all the games finally implemented, I could move on to something fun. Art. I first started off with the player sprite for all the arcade games. I pretty much used Sam Hogan's technique of randomly placing pixels, and I gotta say, DaVinci's been real quiet since this came out. After that, I made animated backgrounds for each arcade game. And when I say made, I mean... After that came the player mod. Now remember when I said I hold the record for being the worst Blender user? Your boy is not touching that program again. So instead I made this. It wouldn't be a chocolate factory without the iconic Oompa Loompas. Look at these guys. So with my masterful modeling skills, I created an Oompa Loompa the same way I created the player. And let's just say the results are life-changing. Whoa. Whoa. After that came a loose screen the player would see if they were eliminated. I also added a canoe, similar to the one MrBeast showed in this YouTube short. Ah, what a wonderful day to be alive. What the... So far, things are really good. The factory feels alive, the game is competitive and fun, and although I'm past the deadline, the game looks really appealing. It would be a shame if... So, my PC ran into a problem and the whole factory scene is corrupt.
It worked. Oh, it worked.
Alright, we're back on track, baby. The next thing I did was add an entrance to the factory. The player's gonna start here, then walk into Candyland. After adding a butt ton of tiles, I painted a path, sculpted the appropriate terrain, and slapped the MrBeast logo onto the factory. Then, I added some outside decorations like this candy cane, these chimneys, and these PVC pipes I got from Sketchfab. So far, the factory's looking pretty good.
So, my computer blue screened again.
The project got corrupted again.
This time, it wasn't so easy to fix.
Well, after 7 of the worst hours of my life and another deadline delay, we are back on track. Note to self, git, commit, often. Now in a new month, I re-added the Lost Terrain and put in some music. And lucky for me, I had the perfect song. Did you know that 𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗥𝗜𝗕𝗨𝗧𝗜𝗢 song was supposed to be a war theme? The song is also in the public domain because... copyright. After that, I downloaded 𝗔𝗧𝗧𝗥𝗕𝗦𝗡 and converted the song into an 8-bit style. The original song will play when you're in the factory, and the 8-bit song will play during the arcade games. At this point, I was feeling a little bored and wanted to start the game off with a bang! Then, I copy-pasted Bracky's audio manager script for some juicy sound effects. I also added some particles using Unity's particle system. Now, it wouldn't be MrBeast's chocolate factory without his chocolate brand, Feastables. So, I downloaded the 3 Feastable bar covers, smacked them onto a rectangle, and replaced the points with their very own snacks. Speaking of MrBeast, he's not in the game yet. Thankfully, he posted this picture of him dressed up as Willy Wonka. So I put him in Photoshop, masked him out, filled out his missing arm, which looked a bit sick, and put him at the front entrance for the whole world to see. After adding more particles using Unity's particle system, I moved on to the grand finale of the game. If you manage to survive all 9 minigames thrown your way, these doors at the end of the path open. The doors lead to a tunnel, which leads into a turn containing something life-changing. Something truly worth seeing. Oh, well, you'll have to watch the end of the video to see the prize.
And finally, after recording and losing my sanity for 11.5 hours,
I hit the build button and watched my masterpiece unfold. The final step is making a game page which requires a title, check, a description, check, and some screenshots. And with all said and done, here's the game, you epic gamers. Look at this beauty. Hey, that's MrBeast right there. What? And Danny's around blocks here. Oh, T. What? Well, I guess you'll have to play the game to see the end.
Also, if you want to see me make Minecraft in real life, click here.
Seriously, I made an actual dirt hut. And a statue.